Okay, Mr. Heng, you may go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we meet again. It's a monthly meeting. Okay, hope to meet more often. Every time meet online is no fun. Okay, today we are talking about scientific studies, and that is from the issue Ganoderma 87. All right, this issue is talking about Lingzhi and its effects on obesity-related diseases. Lingzhi and its effect on obesity. All right, let's look at introduction. Obesity, sometimes, when I lose some weight, people say, oh, you look so haggard, or when you gain weight, you look very successful, fat look good, commanding. But actually, obesity can be considered a chronic disease, and it is a source of many illnesses. Right? According to the World Obesity Federation, the number of obese people has tripled since 1975. And by 2025, they expect to have more than 1 billion people that are obese. I mean, probably this statistics might be a bit earlier, not including, may not have obesity. Next now. All right. What is obesity? Obesity is basically when one's weigh more than the weight set by the World Health Organization based on the body mass index, BMI. This body mass index is calculated by basically taking your body weight divided by the square of your height. Right? If you are between 25 to 30, you are considered overweight. More than 30 is obese, and more than 40 is severely obese. All right. So only when you are below 25 that you are considered ideal. But that is only in general based on Western standard. As we Asians tend to be of smaller build, all right, maybe our bones are smaller, all that kind of thing. So the BMI that is ideal for us should be below 24. If you are between 24 to 27, you are considered overweight. May not be obese, it's just overweight. Right. Another method in which you can measure obesity is by the fat distribution. Some people say, hey, I don't look overweight, I don't look fat. But you strip down, you look at, they have a big tummy. Right? A big tummy, a tummy that is like 5 months pregnant. So you have this waist to hip ratio. Right? A normal waist to hip ratio for men is that it's supposed to be less than 0.9. For women, 0.8. If anything that is more than 1 for men or more than 0.85 for women is considered fat. Right? That is, you take your waist measurement divided by your hip measurement. Right? Okay, that is one way to measure. All right. Of course, next one. Obesity is losing weight. Everybody is ideal You see every woman talk about, I'm very fat not pretty It's all about appearance. Men, they like to have muscular body, right? Big stomach, high chest. But all these are beauty, nice looking. But behind it, actually, in our subconscious mind, they are not aware that actually obesity is in fact a severe chronic illness. All right? Obesity may not be fatal. It will not kill you straight away. but it is the root cause of most illnesses, right? Because why? Because it causes our body system to be imbalanced, right? Like, for example, it causes our body to be resistant to insulin and thus resulting in us having diabetes. It causes inflammation in the body, in the blood vessel. And as a result, blood tend to clog up the blood vessel and cause strokes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, so-called arteriosclerosis, right? It also affects the metabolism of the cholesterol, developing stones, maybe in your bowel, in your kidney, all that. And then fats also deposit in your liver. Right, next one. Research has shown that obesity are correlated with many illnesses. Things like fatty liver, sleep apnea, suddenly you have you see, especially those fat people, suddenly like no breathing, they cannot breathe, arthritis, depression, infertility. Nowadays you hear a lot of people have to go to IVF, right? For what? It could be related to the fact that the people are fat, and even it can cause cancer. All right. So obesity as a whole reduce a person's lifespan. Right. Clinically, like I said just now, are basically dieting and exercise. You go to a doctor, you tell them you're obese, what you should do, they tell you diet, exercise more. Right. And if you are too fat, they go for gastric balloon, liposuction, all that kind of thing. Or even tie up your stomach to reduce your space for food. Right? These are all, as you can see, from these statistics, from the past statistics of the last 50 years, this treatment has not reduced the number of obesity in the world. And very often we come across people that they diet, they exercise, okay, they achieve their ideal weight. Once they stop, a few months later, their weight come right back. Right? So it's become a vicious circle. Very hard. You always have to go on dieting and exercise to keep it down. And then the moment you stop, let's say during festivities, you want to eat a little bit more, allow your weight all swell up. Then you go back to square one again, then you start over again. And life become very depressing. All right. Okay. We look at Lingzhi. Lingzhi or Ganoderma lucidum has been used in Asian countries as a supplement for longevity, health maintenance, and the prevention and treatment of various kinds of illnesses and diseases for a few centuries. Okay. Many modern scientific studies has shown that Lingzhi is efficacious in the treatment of obesity and its related diseases. Since these modern scientific studies started, all right? Okay, we take the opportunity to look at some of these reports. Okay, the first report we look at is Lingzhi can inhibit fat cells. Fat cells, also known as adipocytes, differentiation and reduces fat accumulation. All right. Okay, what is adipocyte or what is fat cells? Next page, Shindong. Okay, adipocyte or like what is known fat cells or lipocytes, or you want to call it that way, or lipocytes are cells in the adipose tissue that are used mainly to store fats or triglycerides. Right? And at the same time, it is for insulation and producing hormones. So you get adipocytes, they found all over our body, under the skin. A bit more, protect our bones, all that kind of thing, around our organs, between the muscle, bone marrow, breast tissue, right? In general, it's your body fats. Most of the fats tend to be found around, in the abdomen area, in the hip area, in the thigh area. Right? When excess calories are consumed, they are converted into fat and stored in these cells to be used as energy when the need arises. Okay? Fat, don't say it's useless. You need fat for energy. You need fat for hormone. Take, for example, women. If they are so slim, they lose weight, they go into anorexia, they will lose their period. All right? So some fats are used to create hormones for the normal woman hormones. Okay? And then there are also other hormones. The number of fat cells increase during the time when you are growing. Like an infant, you see a baby, you see that a lot of baby fat, right? That fat cells is help them to grow. Adolescents a bit more plump. So when they come to puberty, they shoot up, right? Fats during the early years actually is a growth hormone, right? They grow up, they have more fat cells, and of course, if it is completely obese, it is a problem. But if they have enough fat during their childhood and adolescence time, by the time they reach puberty, they can grow very tall. Okay, there have been talks about fats as a growth hormone. All right, so but more so for children and adolescents, but they have to, of course, put it to good use, not severely obese, right? Reasonable amount of fat is good. If you observe over the years, you find that adolescents that is a little bit plump during the adolescence year, and when they come to puberty, they shoot up. They become very tall. Okay, you just observe this is what has been the case. All right, but of course that is only for children and adolescents. Among adults, that's it. Up to a certain point, it stabilizes. Our fat cell stabilize with no more fat cell being created. But next page, fat cells do create in adults. How? Right? When we eat more than what is needed, it gets stored, right? It's stored in these fat cells. This fat cell will first expand, will first enlarge to store. Enlarge something like 4 times of the cell size. Once it enlarges up to a certain point, they cannot enlarge anymore. They divide, they split up, right? They split up, or what you call in biological term, differentiate into more cells. So that's why when people go for liposuction, you see there are a lot of fat, a lot of adipose tissue being sucked out. You eat chicken also. You see, if the chicken is fat, you find that there's a lot of fats around the backside area, right? This is a case. So how it comes about, it's not because fat cells has grown, but fat cell has split and divided and multiplied from there. Okay? So when they do a study of fat people, they find out they have more fat cells in obese people than people with normal BMI. Right? So for obese people trying to lose weight, yes, you exercise, you diet. What happened? Your enlarged cells will shrink. Right? Your enlarged cells will shrink. But the number of adipose cells, fat cells, is still there because it already expanded and split, and they have, instead of 1, it become 2, it become 4, it become 8, it become 16, It already split. There's a lot of fat cells all waiting down there. So the moment you stop and then you eat a little bit more, it starts to store in all these fat cells again. So trying to lose weight is like a lost battle. It's a challenge. Don't say it's a lost battle. It's a challenge for these people. Right? Of course, fat cells will die off, but generally about 10% of the fat cells will be replaced every year. Die off, new fat cell will form, They'll just replace, just like normal blood cell, all that will replacement. Okay? Now, right, there was a study by Thyagarajan of Indiana Univ in the USA. He found that Lingzhi extract can inhibit this cell differentiation, the splitting of the cells, and reduce fat accumulation. Okay, in his report, he write a title, mushroom-based dietary supplement inhibits adipocyte differentiation and stimulate glucose uptake and activate AMPK, title. That was published in BMC Complementary Alternative Medicine in 2011. All right, the study uses 3T3LI pre-adipocyte as a module, as a cellular model. This 3T3LI pre-adipocytes, I think is there's a fat cells found in mouse embryo, right? And it's commonly used to study obesity and its related disease and adipocyte differentiation. Okay, why? Because they tend to have the same similar characteristics like our adipocyte before differentiation. Okay, right. The study, in order to induce this adipocyte or fat cell differentiation, they first have to use an agent. This agent called what? Insulin dexamethasone or iso what name to culture the medium to make it differentiate. Right? Then they add Lingzhi containing 6% triptanoid, 13.5% polysaccharide of various dosages. This content is equivalent to our YK Lingzhi. Just in case if you all want to have an idea of what it is all about. Right. The fat accumulated in the adipocytes after depreciation were quantified and identified by some staining, coloring staining to tell us how much is the fat, all that kind of thing. Okay, next page. All right, so the result shows the fats accumulated significantly in the adipocyte after differentiation as shown in the red by the red stain when compared to before differentiation. So you can see A, that is before differentiation, right? B, when it's differentiated, there's a lot of fats. When they have the agent, they put the agent to stimulate the differentiation, you find out that a lot of fat cells being multiplied. All right, that's why you have a lot of red color. However, if the same thing you have Lingzhi inside, the number of fat cells being differentiated, being divided, split up into is much lesser. Okay, the higher the dosage, the lower the differentiation. As you can see, C is a low dosage. E is a high dosage. See, E is very close to A or even lower, right? So therefore, it shows that Lingzhi can inhibit this fat differentiation and accumulation. Okay, the staining show confirm that. All right, next page. Right, so they quantify it by measuring the fat and triglyceride contents in the fat cells. They found that the fat content increased by 9.5 times and the triglyceride increased by 3.5 times after differentiation. This is quantifying what you see in the previous slides, right? So when Lingzhi extract is included in this medium, the adipocyte accumulation and differentiation is much lower, right? Let's say the highest dosage of Lingzhi reduces the fat content by 72% and triglyceride by 67%. Okay, then they look at the mechanism of how Lingzhi inhibit obesity and found that Lingzhi was able to suppress the 3 transcription factors involved in adipogenesis, so-called creating adipocytes. The 3 transcription factors are PA, gamma, SREBP1, all these are cells genes. That's why we never know. But these are the 3 genes, 3 factors that stop the fat cells from differentiating, from multiplying, or not from differentiating and from accumulation. So therefore, the conclusion is Lingzhi extract suppress the expression of these proteins and enzymes responsible for creating fats, transport, and storage. Right? Okay. Next research is about Lingzhi reducing the weight of obese mice and regulates blood sugar and blood lipids, the 3 highs. Now, this is another research report. We're talking about the reports that we want to look at. The first report that looked at was it inhibit fat cell accumulation, fat cell differentiation. Now, we look at another report where Lingzhi reduce the weight of obese mice and regulate their blood sugar and blood lipids, the 3 highs, which is very common. Most of us are having now. All right. We have a friend last time. We approached him for Lingzhi. He said, "Oh, when a person hit 50, having 3 high is like a bonus. You know, he strike jackpot." Can't believe it. He has that kind of attitude. All right, what is 3 high? 3 high, as we commonly heard, is a health problem referring to hyperlipidemia, hyperglycemia, and hypertension. Hyperlipidemia is high cholesterol. Hyperglycemia is high blood sugar, high cholesterol. Hypertension is high blood pressure. Okay, the causes of 3I are similar to obesity. Like you consume too much than needed, you lead a sedentary lifestyle, you smoke, you drink, and maybe genetics. But like I always say, genes is still very much on what you eat. What the parents eat is what the children eat. What the person in the household decide what to cook is what the consumer in the household will be. Okay, so the relationship between these three diseases and obesity are definitely inseparable, right? And they often have comorbidities. That means they are all having 2 or more of these diseases. So when you have high blood, you have high cholesterol, you have a high blood pressure. Now it's all related, right? So exploring these aspects of the diseases and their relationship is therefore a concern in the medical profession. Okay, right. Hyperlipidemia, next one. Hyperlipidemia is when the cholesterol in the blood is higher than normal. Total cholesterol supposed to be normal one is below 200 mg per deciliter, or triglyceride below 150. Okay, anything higher than that is considered high, right, or marginal. Okay, hyperlipidemia risk causing the cardiovascular disease. Because when your cholesterol is high, the blood vessel may choke. You may have stroke. You may have heart attack. Right? Hyperglycemia is when your blood glucose level is more than 126 mg per deciliter. Right? Marginal when it's between 100 to 125. And while the normal level is below 100. Okay? Because you have high blood sugar, naturally, ultimately it will cause diabetes, because it will keep on causing resistance in insulin, and over time you will become diabetic. Okay, hypertension is when the blood pressure is higher than 130/80, and you can have a risk of heart failure, coronary heart disease, stroke, kidney failure, right? So imagine if your heart is pounding at 160, over 100, very soon your heart will collapse and die. Or your heart, your blood pressure was so low that it cannot even carry blood to the various organs. All right. So, but this is based on normal healthy people. There have been talks about if you are over 50, you are over 60s, at 140 or 150, over 90, you are still okay, right? I mean, you don't expect the heart to be pounding at the same rate as for a 60-year-old man and a 30-year-old man, right? A 30-year-old man is supposed to be a much more healthy heart than a 60-year-old man. Okay, right, next one. All right, the study. Okay, this Hong Kong Chinese University. Right, in the study, they found out that Lingzhi can significantly reduce the weight, the body weight, and improve hyperlipidemia and hyperglycemia in diabetic mice. Right, this study was done in 2009 published in the magazine Phytomedicine journal, titled Novel Hypoglycemic Effects of Ganoderma lucidum water extract in obese diabetic mice. All right, what is this obese diabetic mice, which is C57BL/KSJ-TBDB mice? All right, what is this? This one is actually diabetic mice that is characterized. They have natural obesity. They are naturally obese. They will keep on eating. All right, they have type 2 diabetes. They have dyslipidemia. They have fatty liver, and they are the one that is commonly used to study obesity. I mean, this is a genetic mice lah. There's been their genes has been tweaked to be like that. Okay, and then the experiment used water extract, Lingzhi water extract containing ganodermic acid A to feed the mice. They used two dosage, 0.3 grams per kilo and 0.3 gram per kilo. All right, ganodermic acid A in our YK Lingzhi also been reported to have ganodermic acid A. Right, next one. After 4 weeks of feeding the mice, right, they found that the normal mice fed with Lingzhi water extract show no obvious change in weight. Okay, this why they have to have, first they have to have a normal mice, compare the normal mice and the diabetic mice, and then they feed them with Lingzhi. Okay, they find out that there's no difference between this in weight. So what does it tell you? It tells you that Lingzhi doesn't affect the body weight, right? Okay, so however, when this water extract is fed to diabetic mice, the difference in the body weight was obvious as compared to those fed with those not fed with Lingzhi, right? The body weight of the highest Lingzhi dosage fell by about 15% by the end of 4 weeks experiment. It was down by 20%. Okay, right? It's supposed to be the okay. I think I have made some correction, but then it somehow or other disappeared. All right, it fell by 15% in the first week of the experiment, and by the end of the 4 weeks, it fell by 20%. Okay, so that's why you can see that it fell by about 15%, and by the end of the 4 weeks, right? The 15% was the first week. After the first week, the body weight dropped 15%. After 4 weeks, the body weight dropped 20%. Okay. Then at the same time, the study found out that the fat around the belly area of the diabetic mice. Okay, when we are fat, where does the fat go? The fat always deposit at our belly area, our stomach, our backside, our thigh, right? That's why we have people talk about your apple shape lah, your pear shape lah, you know. They found that the fat around the diabetic group fed with Lingzhi extract declined by 15%. Okay, the fat around the belly area. I don't know how they measure it lah, but if you want to know more in detail how it's being measured, probably you go into the study proper and see how they do it. But they say that the fat declined from 5.52 grams to 4.68 grams. I guess it is at the end of the study, they take out they sacrifice the rats, they scrape out the fats, and then they measure the weight. I guess that's the case, but I did not go into the detail of that. So maybe if you want to go into detail of that, you go into the research report, I think you can read on it. Okay, next page. Right, the diabetic mice used in the experiment already have symptoms. Right? I told you just now, they are like genetic diabetic mice. So since they are genetic diabetic mice, they have hyperglycemia. Their blood glucose level was as high as 666 mg per deciliter, which is 4 times that of normal mice. Okay, 168. But after 1 week of feeding Lingzhi, this blood glucose level declined to about 600. Right? For the low dosage. The high dosage declined to 528. And by the end of the 4th week, the low dosage declined to 441 and the high dosage declined to 288. A decline of about 33 and 56%. Right? The high dosage is getting closer to normal mice. So there has been a decline in the hyperglycemia, high glucose in the diabetic mice. Then on top of that, the study also found that the original level of the low density lipoprotein of these diabetic mice, which is generally 2 to 3 times higher than normal mice, were reduced to a level closer to that of normal mice after 4 weeks of high Lingzhi dosage. All right? Right. What is LDL? I mean, as next one. What is LDL? As we all know by now, hopefully all of you, LDL is basically for transporting cholesterol and energy to all the cells in the body. It transports cholesterol all over the bloodstream, right? So when the level is high, plus inflammation, plus oxidation, it tends to accumulate along the blood vessel, the wall of the blood vessel, and causing arteriosclerosis, narrowing and hardening of the blood vessel. All right, so it may result in cardiovascular disease and coronary diseases. All right, so the study therefore showed that Lingzhi water extract can help to reduce body weight, belly fat, blood sugar, and LDL of diabetic mice. This is just a general summary of the study. So if you want to read a little bit more of the study, there's a title. Nowadays, with Google, you just key in the title, you get the search. Okay? Right. Okay, other than this study, there is another study that's related to this, talking about the tree highs. This separate studies is done by Heng Liang of Hunan Academy of Agricultural Science, China. They also show that Lingzhi can reduce the body weight and improve hyperlipidemia, confirming the efficacy of Lingzhi. Right? This study was published in 2018 in the Journal of Medicinal Food, titled Hypolipidemia, Antioxidant, Anti-Apoptotic Effects of Polysaccharides Extracted from reishi mushroom. Reishi mushroom, which is Ganoderma lucidum, in mice fed for a high-fat diet. All right, why in this passage we quote another study is because in this study they don't use diabetic mice to prove that's the case. They use normal mice and feed them with a high-fat diet to show that it's like we're all human. if we are on a high cholesterol diet, high energy diet, what will result in us? Okay. Right, next page. So they use normal mice, they feed these mice with a high fat diet, right? And at the same time, give them 200 milligram per kilo and 400 milligram per kilo of Lingzhi extract containing polysaccharides for a period of 12 weeks. Okay, the high fat diet naturally causes the body weight to increase, liver weight to increase, abdominal fat, and the perirenal fat tissue. Abdominal fat and perirenal fat is fat tissues around the kidney to increase by 26%, 43%, 132%, 247% respectively as compared to that of normal mice. However, the same group of mice that are fed with Lingzhi and high fat diet, the increase in their weight and the fat tissue were much lesser. Okay, like comparing to the high fat group and high fat dosage, the body weight was reduced by 24%. Okay, the liver weight by 17%, the abdominal weight by 46%, and the perineal fat by 47%. This is around this is compared to the high fat diet. The mice that is on high fat diet and the high fat diet and Lingzhi, they compare and then they find that this is lower than the high fat diet by so much. Okay. Right, next page. The study measured the cholesterol level in the blood of the mice. Okay, triglyceride, total cholesterol, LDL, and the HDL. And they found that the polysaccharide can reduce this triglyceride, total cholesterol, and LDL, and at the same time increase the HDL of the mice in our fat. Right? Like I said, down here we are only creating the summary, the details. You want to go into it, you may go and access the title and read yourself. Right? The above two studies therefore confirm that Lingzhi can effectively reduce weight, blood lipids, improve body fat metabolism of both diabetic mice and mice on high diet, and as a result can reduce the obesity, the risk of obesity and its related diseases. Okay, then we come out to the third research on Lingzhi and obesity and its related diseases. We talk about fatty liver. That is something that for obesity it cannot be cannot escape. Fatty liver is something that will happen if one is obese, right? This study say that Lingzhi can treat fatty liver and improve liver function. Okay. Okay, what is fatty liver? Okay, fatty liver in scientific term or in a medical term, they call hepatosteatosis, right? Some in just short, steatosis, right? Hepato is liver. Okay, fatty liver, obesity result in lipids accumulating under the skin, giving us a puff look, right? Puff look, also in our blood vessel, causing blood vessel blockage, choking, all that kind of thing. And also it can deposit in our liver, along our liver, and so-called wrap around the liver. So You go liver, you go ultrasound scan, they say, oh, you have fatty liver, you know. This is because there's fat around the liver. Okay? Of course, fat around, lipids build up in the liver cause the liver cells and the liver to swell. Of course, if it is a small amount, it doesn't matter. You don't feel anything. I remember back in the 1990s, late 1990s, I went for a scan, the ultrasound scan, and said, oh, I got fatty liver, you know. But, I mean, if it is not more than 5% of the total liver weight, they don't consider it very serious. But once it's more than 5% of the total liver weight, they work on a percentage by the sound they measure they give a chance. Then it's classified as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or hepatic steatosis, right? Or in short, hepatostosis, whichever, or some call it steatosis. All right, it affects about 30% of the general population. Okay, not very big, in developed countries. But if you are obese, it rises to 90%. If you have type 2 diabetes, it's about 70%. So you can see obesity causes fatty liver. Fatty liver itself, you don't feel anything. Okay? But it causes the liver to swell. Diagnosis, like I said just now, ultrasound, MRI, blood type, blood test, biopsy, okay? Blood test for your ALT or GOT, GPT, AST, that kind of thing. Okay. Okay, initially, next page. Initially, fatty liver, you don't feel anything, no symptom, nothing. Okay? It's just that sometimes you exert a little bit, you feel tired. Maybe once in a while, some pain around the upper right side of the abdomen. That's about all. Okay? But as it progresses, it causes inflammation of the liver. In the medical term is steatohepatitis. Then, progress further, it causes fibrosis. Certain part of the liver start to be, the cell liver start to die out and not able to function. Then go to cirrhosis, liver start to harden, right? And damage. And ultimately, liver fail, you end up with liver cancer. Liver fail, people got to go for liver transplant. This is the case, fibrosis and cirrhosis stage. Once it's cancer, it's either you also do a transplant, also can, but the cancer is already there, become a problem. Right, there are basically no available treatment. Clinical treatment of fatty liver are basically telling you, hey, control your diet, exercise, lose weight. And then other than that, it's symptom-based. So if you are high blood cholesterol, they'll give you statin, that kind of thing, symptom-based. Other than that, they only tell you, control your diet, don't anyhow eat, exercise, lose weight, right? So these treatments basically have their limitation and side effects, and they need to be explored further. Okay, then a study by a Beijing University team led by Di Zhong found that Lingzhi can significantly improve fatty liver, dyslipidemia, that is a high cholesterol, liver dysfunction, and insulin resistant in diabetic mice. All right, this one is published in Cellular Physiology Bio and Biochemistry in 2018. Right? The experiment here is an interesting part. The experiment used leptin deficient diabetic mice. Also a common animal model used to study obesity, dyslipidemia, and insulin resistance. This is different from the one they used in the previous study that we talked about, the earlier one, CB51KSJ. This is a leptin receptor deficient mice. There's a difference, okay? One is a receptor difference, one is just short of this. They are both all have a natural obesity type of symptom. But the leptin receptor deficient mice are more serious. Okay? Whereas the leptin deficient mice are less serious. It's just like your human in a pre-diabetic condition. Okay? Next page. Right, the study, of course, also use polysaccharide. They feed them 100 grams, 100 milligram per kilo of polysaccharide peptide extracted from Lingzhi for 4 weeks. Comparing to normal mice, the diabetic mice, as usual, like I said just now, have characteristics of obesity, fatty liver, insulin resistant, metabolic syndrome. So their liver size, weight, triglyceride, and total cholesterol were all higher than that of normal mice. That is understood. But after feeding 4 weeks of these Lingzhi polysaccharide peptides, their liver size and weight were reduced. Their triglyceride and total cholesterol were significantly lowered. And their dyslipidemia improved. Okay? There are some figures being shown on the chart. I did not extract from it because it's quite a complicated one. So those who want to know the number, the figure, you can refer to the study. Okay, they did a histological analysis. All right, that is do an image study. They slice up the liver cells, the liver tissue, and look at the liver cell, the cell itself, okay, the tissue. They found that the diabetic mice, of course, they show obvious hepatocytosis, right? Large deposit and accumulation of fats and degenerating liver cells. But this group of rats that had been fed with Lingzhi, the size of the fat cells are much smaller, and the degenerating liver cells are restored, such that when they do a histological analysis, image of the liver cells, they find out that the liver cells are more condensed, are more so-called arranged nicely. Whereas you compare with the diabetic mice, they cannot see much of the liver cells because it's all covered up in fats, right? So the conclusion was Lingzhi polysaccharide significantly reduced the lipid accumulation and triglyceride level of diabetic mice, suggesting that it improved fatty liver. Okay, lipid accumulation in diabetic mice is about 5 times that of normal mice. This is just to quantify it, quantify what we said earlier. Okay, normal lipid accumulation is about 5 times for diabetic mice. But when they consume Lingzhi, this amount is reduced by 30%. So it get lower. Okay. Right, the study next measure the AST and ALT enzyme in the blood. I mean, these two enzymes are basically secreted by the liver into the bloodstream, and when the liver function is normal, it will be within a normal range. When the liver function is abnormal, it will explode, it will increase. Okay, so as it is, that of a diabetic mice is 2.5 times and 1.4 times of normal mice. But after 4 weeks of Lingzhi, this amount was reduced by about 30%, and the ALT was restored to closer to normal mice. So this also suggests that Lingzhi can improve the liver function of diabetic mice, assuming that AST and ALT is a measure of the liver function. Like I said just now, see, when your liver function is not working, the liver will secrete this enzyme into the blood, right? So when this enzyme fall, that means your liver function is improving. Okay, that's exactly what it is, right? In conclusion, the research shows that Lingzhi is efficacious in reducing obesity and improving the related diseases. Right? Although the report may have used different model, slightly different components of Lingzhi, but on the whole, it's like they are facing a different type of situation in treating obesity. So obesity is a major health problem that has to be tackled, right? And Lingzhi, with its proven efficacy against obesity and its many related diseases, can help to reduce these potential health threats. Right? Maybe before I sign off, I can so-called talk about a bit about my own personal testimony lah. You know, I remember when I first started consuming Lingzhi back in the 2011, 2012. You know, I took 4 Lingzhi, and maybe also 8 colon. After a short period, I find my trousers is a bit looser, you know. And before consuming, my weight was something like 80 kilos. Then when I start to measure my weight, 77 kilo. And my pants was a little bit looser now. I was wearing 36 waist, you know. Then 35 waist also can fit now, and a bit looser. So subsequent years, I add in our fiber and protein, and cut a little bit of my rice consumption. My weight has been reducing. To first 75, now I'm about 70. Right, 70 kilo, averaging plus minus 1 or 2 kilo here and there. Right, I mean, sometimes like Chinese New Year, I tend to consume a bit more. I measure my weight, it goes up 2 or 3 kilo. Right, but if next few days I go back to my normal diet, normal so-called consumption level, my weight will start to fall down. Back to again to slowly, after maybe 1 week or so, it back to around 40 plus minus again. So what does it tell you? It tells us that the fat differentiation right? It has been, the fat cells have been inhibited. There's not as many fat cells available to accumulate as much fat to stay permanently, right? So kind of like I just eat a normal diet, my weight will get back to normal. Okay, so even my colleague has commented, I'm the only one who's able to maintain a stable weight loss. Instead of them, when they go on a diet, they have a lost weight, and when they stop, their weight go back. Okay, right. So I hope that my sharing will bring some importance to people with who are obese, and especially in this present situation where obese people tend to have more pre-existing condition, and which will be endangering their life. All right, with that, I end my sharing. Thank you. Bye-bye.